all that funny.
Service above self. Allegiance to the flag. Liberty and justice for all.
Let's bow our heads for a moment and ask, Lord, bless this food to our use and us to thy service. Amen. And Alan said he has a good song for us today.
Yeah.
What? He has a little backstory about it.
Oh, of course.
No.
Well, we'll continue our patriotic theme today. It was 205 years ago this week that Julia Ward Howe was born. Yeah. And in November of 1861, she and her husband visited Washington, D.C. at the beginning of the Civil War. And while there, she was a published poet. And then while there, she heard the Union troops belting out a well-known marching song called John Brown's Body, you know, and known after the famous abolitionist John Brown. A preacher standing with her encouraged her to write new lyrics to the tune. So in her words, this is the way it came about. I awoke the next morning in the gray of the early dawn, and to my astonishment, found that the wished for lines were arranging themselves in my brain. I lay quite still till the last verse had completed itself. The song we know today has 6 verses. So, in my thoughts, then hastily arose, saying to myself, I shall lose this if I don't write it down immediately. I began to scrawl the lines almost without looking. Having completed this, I lay down again and fell asleep, but not before feeling that something of importance had happened to me. That something of importance proved to be the words of the battle hymn of the Republic. It was made famous by a Union Army chaplain during the Civil War. He sang it in front of President Abraham Lincoln, who stood and asked to hear it a second time. It quickly became the unofficial anthem for the Union. At that time, since that time, it has become a popular, well-known American patriotic song. In February of 1862, just 3 months later, she sold her poem to the Atlantic Monthly for a princely sum of $5. Yeah. So let's turn to page 6. Top of the top of the page, Battle Hymn of the Republic. Not the same, although I like them all. Not usual for me to like all the verses of a song like that. But I don't know of one mainline church that doesn't have it in their hymnal. But here it is. First verse, we're going to do it right, okay? Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is battling out the grace of wrath restored. He has lost the faithful lightning of the terrible sword. His truth is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on.
Very good, that's very good.
All right. Happy dollars. Last week, our club participated in the Winning the Bay Day. It's the first time we've done that back in college. Jason Westing led a group. Like to tell us how it went, Jason?
Well, I think it went pretty well. We had 8 total Rotarians and their spouses, or sister Betty and her sister Karen was there. Jim Rich was there and his wife, myself, and then I had 3 teenagers that I wrangled. I was hoping to have 5 or 6. How it goes, they need to sleep in and they don't wanna wake up. I get it. But, we had a great, we picked up about, 1,400, or excuse me, 1,380 pounds of trash. So it was about 25 or 30 people in total that showed. We're gonna have the, so each year, what they do, the Chesapeake Bay Foundation has trash pickups along the Chesapeake Bay and the tributaries. On or about, I think this June date, and, what's the first, and then they calculate all of the litter, trash collected, and how many pounds it was, and the benefits to the bay, all this stuff that lodges to the tributaries. So I think we had a really nice, turnout for us, and then Jim Ridge took some awesome photos, and he indicated we're gonna be, yes, on the front, or somewhere. Front page area, I didn't even think I was here. So I was speaking like we weren't here. So it went well, thank you.
All right,
That's
thanks.
great.
And I think, and on the 15th, we're having the road cleaned up there. Is that
Yeah,
right?
15th at 9 a.m. as schooler, and I'll send around this, sign up sheet. So,
All right, thanks. And John, I'm sure you'd like to say a few words about the crab cakes.
I have the latest tally on crab cakes. And as of this moment, we have sold 243 of 336 trays.
Wow.
And it's, yeah. So, we've sold 243 trays so far. That's 72% of our goal. I'm gonna pass this around. I know there will be some of you, I can't imagine what kind of human being would do this. One to buy, sell your 2 crab cakes, okay? Because it's a mandatory thing. Back in the day, we had trouble meeting our quota. We were selling 300 or 400, and we just never let that go. But if you don't want to sell your 2 or buy your 2, send me an email. If we get to the end, almost invariably, we oversell, and people want some loose crab cakes, and I'll take yours in the order you send them to me. Okay? If you don't tell me that, then you're obliged to pick up 2. But if you would, so here, the main thing I want you to do today, even if your count is a little off, that's okay. We'll put them down. The 2 columns I want to look at, the worker column. Who's that? That fan?
Yeah.
I got
It's Jackie.
Jackie, what's $10?
And she's the only one that, does that. $10? Okay.
I got it. Fine.
Anyway, 2 columns, the worker column far left, and if you know your count, then it's different what I have right here, but we always need workers. Last time we've had about 40. Bill Strand has had several ladies, auxiliary. I understand they're coming back, 5 of them, that's great. So over the years, for those of you that haven't done this, or only done it once or twice, we've really gotten good at this. Everybody's had a little input, and we start with the main crew at 9 o'clock, and almost assuredly by 12 o'clock, most everybody will be done. And probably before then. The other thing, I mentioned this in the email, please don't have your customers start showing up at 10 and 10:30 and 11 o'clock. Nobody's gonna steal their crab cakes. It just gets us screwed up. We'll be done by noon. They can show up at noon and we'll take care of it. Any questions?
I just might comment.
Yeah.
That a lot of this is due to Katie's engineering
Oh.
process.
Absolutely. Well, and it's not here to talk about it, but this is a favorable thing. I've told this story several times, maybe you've heard it, but we went for several years making them and selling them like you do in the food line with a saran wrap on top. Okay, and they were kind of messy and they looked kind of messy and they get smashed and stacked them up. And Bill Murphy, being the genius that he is, and Forrest Gump, why don't we just put a top on that? This is before they made clamshell, so we bought 2 plastic trays and put one on top and wrapped them, and it's like, history was made, because for some of us who sell 40 or 50 or 80 trays, you stack them up, by the end of the day, the crab meat was coming out the side. It wasn't a pretty picture. What we make now, everybody loves. I've had absolutely no complaints over the years about this stuff. We have changed suppliers, Stranger got a supplier who has more domestic crab meat, because that was kind of an issue. But we also have a backup supplier again, so we're really doing well. Put down, if you want to work, you don't have to tell me, if you put 2 for yourself and your spouse, your friend, just put the number, I don't need to know who it is. Just that you will be coming to work, and it'll be one of you, 2 of you, whatever it is, okay? I know Rick won't be there, Rick runs off the main, and Rick, you have to do this. So just, if you would, write it down, if you're not gonna be there, just put a 0, so I'll know that you answered the question, and you're not gonna be there.
All right, thanks, John.
All right.
That reminds me, John has proposed 2 new members to the club,
Yes.
Laura Sullivan and Adam
And-
Charney, the
Yeah.
mayor of Cape Charles and former mayor.
Right.
So they've all been approved by the board of directors, and this is the formal announcement to the memberships. If anybody has anything, any objections, let us know, otherwise they'll become members by next week.
Okay, I will tell them what to think.
All right, thanks, John. Any other announcements today? How about happy dollars? Anybody happy?
I'll just give 10 for how well we're doing on the page. We've never started this early, so I'm gonna give $10. I don't think any that will be sold out by the 15th or something like that. So that, if you're in the trading business, be sure you get your name on the list, otherwise we won't have it. $10. Happy
All right, thanks, Bill.
I'll add $10 to my penalty $10.
Only 5.
Only 5. John said, John upped it to 10.
Because Jackie called.
Oh, it should be double fine.
And the reason I'm happy is, Jackie is well enough that on Friday, she jumped on the plane and she's in California. And suddenly I have like 4 more hours in the day. I don't know.
Good, when's she coming back?
In 37 days, her daughter is gonna bring her. I'm counting down.
All right,
Any other happy dollars?
I got 5.
Well,
Last week I was in San Jose, California, and got my grandson graduated from high school. And next year he's going to Cal Poly and become an engineer.
Ooh.
And as a footnote to that, I'm also happy because on the 21st or thereabouts, we're going to get on an airplane and go to Toronto, and then get on a ship and go around the Great Lakes. This is the same trip that Joan Natali is on right now.
good.
Yeah.
Any other? happy
Footnote,
dollars?
it doesn't stop in Chicago.
I'll be $10 because I'm gonna miss next week. All the real long stones.
Okay. Have fun. Let's do the card game. Has, anybody read the ace of hearts?
King of spades.
Does not be
No,
the
that's
ace.
I think I'm the winner, so.
It's done.
Oh, diamonds, I don't know what's the high. No winner today, so the game will continue.
Oh, build that pot up.
$1 $5.
Thanks. All right, our speaker today is one of our new members, Mark Guthrie. He's gonna tell us about himself, his bios. Mark, it's your turn.
Bear with because I found out I was doing this about script. So, is it?
Oh, you got a 5-minute warning, so that's no.
It sounds to me here, and I'm happy to share, the background
Talking to the mic.
about where I came from, and, welcome to Cape Charles. My whole family's from East Texas, about 80 miles east of Dallas, and on over to Fort Worth. Kind of a line that, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents all lived along. And, I was born in Texas and, Texas by birth, Oklahoma by circumstances, Virginia by choice. My family moved from Texas north of the border to Oklahoma, where my dad was a cost mining professor for 30 years at Oklahoma State. And, mom was a homemaker, but she was actively involved in most everything in town as far as a volunteer goes. Back up for, and just recently, a group of friends gave her a t-shirt that said, "Stop me before I volunteer." So, volunteering was sort of what our family did, was what we did, when we had some time, and we often did it together. I grew up in Stillwater, Oklahoma State, went there as an undergrad, majored in marketing, and went to the University of Oklahoma for law school, and practiced law for a couple of years, and absolutely was miserable. And some of my friends love practicing law, others don't, but I did not like it at all, although I had grown up on Perry Mason. And I never wanted to be anything other than a lawyer. My parents said, you never mentioned any other profession than being a lawyer. It's time number 4. I said, yeah, and then I got it, and I hated it. So I lucked into it. I lucked into a position. The faculty advisor at the state, I called and said, I need some advice. I'm miserable here in the law firm, and I want to, what are some other options? He goes, well, how about teaching? I said, I could probably do that. He said, good, because I just accepted the executive assistant position with the President University, and my 4 classes are available in the spring, and we'll pay you half a regular salary. He said, that's okay. I said, so, so I left Ponca City, Oklahoma, which is where my law firm was, not my law firm, the law firm I worked for. Ponca City is, well, was home to Conoco Oil Companies, where Marlin Oil became Conoco, and then became ConocoPhillips. But I practiced law a couple of years. I won a few cases, lost a few cases, and did an awful lot of paperwork. And then jumped in the classroom and loved it. So 20 years I taught at James Madison University in Shinto. The last 16 years I taught at the University, Bloomsburg University in Minnesota. Back in the 90s, I decided that I really need to learn more about international things, international business in particular, because the course that I taught was business law. And I decided to decided to go back and get a master's to kind of bone up on international things. So I went to a school called Vanderburg, American Graduate School of International Management, which at the time was right up there with Harvard University of South Carolina, and Harvard and Penn, and Vanderburg. How I got in, I don't know, but I did, and I loved it. It's the first educational experience I had where I couldn't read enough books. In fact, we had a political economy class that had 10 books assigned, and I was too old to have them by the midterm, although they didn't have the interview suspension. So I loved it. I got into the international aspects of teaching, international law, international marketing, and while at JMU started a program to Central Europe, where I took students to Central Europe every summer, about 3 to 4 weeks. And then about every 4th summer, I served as the faculty member in residence for the JMU program in Salamanca, Spain, and was there with my family for those 3 summers. In between there, I member of college fraternity, and a couple of years when I moved back to Virginia, first 2 years I was here before I got a job in Madison. I was the associate executive director of Sigma Phi fraternity, headquartered in Lexington. It was a good experience. I know that there are Animal House movies and all those things, but my fraternity experience was amazingly good, amazingly supportive, and they kicked my butt. They got me the grades up from where they were. So I see. Had the opportunity while at JMU to teach a course called the International Marketing Planning Program. And it was sponsored by the Economic Development Office of the state. And MBA students from around the state in teams would develop export strategies or market entry strategies for companies in Virginia that wanted to go abroad, wanted to get their toe wet by stepping into the international arena. And I did that for about 10 years. And they had every year they had a governor's award banquet, and 1 year I lucked into having some amazing students, and they won the governor's award. Having one winner, they had 3. And so they got the students down there, they congratulated them, they gave them a trophy and a certificate, and the faculty members were called on. And our reward was flipping a coin to see who got to go with the Commonwealth of Virginia on a trade mission. And I flipped heads and my two colleagues flipped tails. And so I went to the Hanover, Germany trade show for about a week. And it was amazing. It was again back in the 90s, and they were just introducing robots. So one of the biggest lines at the Hanover fair, the technology fair, was for one of the two robots that was serving beer. And it was pretty amazing. Walk out, just, I mean, it was, and back then, we didn't have the whole AI thing we have now. Back then, this was pretty new stuff. But the robot would take you to where you tell them wanted to go, turn around for it, serve you, etc. It was pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. 1996, I made my first trip to Cape Charles. Dear friends of mine had a place over on Tazewell, right next to Bruce and Carol's bed and breakfast. We were here to help my friends Chris and Peter move their stuff out of their house, drywall put in, and we moved everything out of their house into a building downtown, which I don't know where it was located, but it was stored there. And we were driving down, and Chris, we stopped at U-Cross in Richmond, as well in the valley. So U-Cross, and at that point, he called a couple of friends here and said, Mark, sent me down for the first time, and let's get a few people together. So about 3.5 hours later, we walked into a house on Peach Street that had 35 people at a potluck to meet us and to welcome us to Cape Charles. And I went out the next morning looking at houses. And a month later, on the first house we happened, which was 643 Road. We go to field, 49 Tazewell, 643 Road, 242 Tazewell, 121 and 117 Strawberry and something. But my ex, one of my exes, was in the construction business, and that was what they were. 1996, on that first trip, I felt like, it's weird, anytime I go back to Texas, it's home. It's the feeling of home. Can't explain it. But driving over the bridge to get to Cape Charles and getting to Virginia had the exact same feeling. And I had no idea why. Until my mom goes, your grandma did a family history. She goes, you got a copy of it? I said, maybe. And she said, why don't you look it up and see if there isn't a connection here. She said, I think there's some mention of East Virginia. And there is. My grandma's name was Scarborough, and the Scarborough family goes back to the 1600s here on the Eastern Shore, and that's the connect. But in 1996, I decided this is where I wanted to be when I retired. That happened a year ago last December. In 2001, I was brash. I was brash and kind of decided that something ought to be done with that space in the middle of town called Central Park. Only it wasn't. And so it was in 2001 that I taught Miss Trina and Larry Weber to host a meeting in their living room. And we invited everyone that we could together to that meeting. And at that meeting, we organized a citizens for Central Park. And I served as the first president for 8 years. And then was president of the dedication in 2011 at Central Park. So it was a wonderful experience. We did something called Renovators Ball a few years. We all might have gone to that. I think a few of you did. Renovators Ball was great because everybody wore their best renovators clothes, and we just had a great time. We had a king and a queen, and of course their scepters were made out of toilet plungers. And their thrones were, of course, toilets. The people had taken out their houses and we were using as props for the parties. But that was a major fundraiser for several years, was that it became the Witches and Pirates and Witches Ball. And then we sort of dropped that when we discovered that selling margaritas at concerts produced more income than many of those events, although they were they were fun in a different way. But we had a great time. So I'm back on the park board, and unfortunately, I said yes to a number of folks about volunteering for things, and so I'm on the Rosenwald School Board, as well as the County Democratic Committee, and a couple others. That's where I am right now. I have 2 kids that are awesome. I have a son that's 34. He lives with his girlfriend in Antwerp, Belgium. Probably will never move back to the US. But they love it over there. She's a Saudi national, which is an interesting mix. But they're great. They're great. We see them out in August. My daughter and her husband, Nicholas, graduated from CMU and then got a master's at the University in Antwerp just recently on something that I have a hard time pronouncing. I just know that it has something to do with construction and computer programming that interfaces with something and something else. And that's about all I get. He has the same issue with law terms, so I said, you know, help him with those, and he helps me with those. He actually understands the law terms. I still don't understand exactly what he does with the technology. But 34. My daughter is 32. Just got married last November. She and her husband live in Charlottesville. She went to Denison University in Ohio, and very, very nice. So that's about it. I won't be here for the cleanup next Saturday, Saturday 15th. I'm committed to spending Father's Day with my dad as many as we have left. And so I'm on Father's Day weekend. I'm in South Florida for my folks live. All right. I hope that's enough, but I hope that.
Thanks, Mark. Glad to have you in the club. We have a couple of minutes. Do you have any update on the clock project you want to share with the membership?
We're up to $8,500 for the clock. Cost is $12,000. And I plan on asking Main Street and Central Park to each donate $1,000 if they would consider that. And I'm going to hopefully ask our club to maybe donate $1,000 to help toward the purchase and installation, but probably more the installation of the clock. And I think we should be there by the end of the summer. I think we'll have them. Got a few more feelers out. Other folks. So folks are considering.
Have a location yet, or that's?
We don't have a location. What I'm going to do is it's been interesting because lots of moving parts that I had no idea were there, which I'm glad I found out about. But I have a letter that's drafted and to be sent to Main Street and to Central Park and Executive Rotary to kind of lay out what comes next, what needs to come next, and the decision on where it's located is one of the big ones. I think what I'd like to do is, I don't know if you all growing up or in Stillwater, and back in Bloomsburg University, Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania, rather, the United Way had a thermometer poster like on Main Street, at the corner of Main Street. A thermometer poster that said, this amount raised, this amount raised, this amount raised. And I thought I would get permission, right? One of those out in the Starbucks Plaza with a QR code to allow anybody who might want to make a donation. May work, may not, but at least it also creates some energy for raising more, raising so. So we can start that thermometer out at $8,500 and then raise it very close. Thank you. Any questions?
Question? All right.
Let me. I am the person of Charles Main Street. So we submitted for a grant. DHCD, which is our parent organization, for $75,000 for Main Street for Strawberry Street Plaza, with shade in Strawberry Street Plaza. And one of the things that we submitted, we had a picture of the clock there. Okay, now, you're right. We don't know if that's where it's going to go. A lot of people think it should go down. If we ever get this welcome center, that would be a better location because the train train station is just a good place where you can see that clock. So, but I just wanted to add that you won't find out about that grant until probably September timeframe. And we may not get the $75,000, but the shade itself costs $42,000. And then we wanted handicap picnic tables to go under those. There's four cantilever umbrellas that would be mounted into the ground so that and the wind. So, but anyway, that's what we submitted. So we'll just have to wait and see. It would also include upgrading
All right, thanks, Phil. Anyone else have anything to do with Rotary? If not, let's stand and say the four-way test. Is it true?
Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Will we have fun?
Yes.
All right.
So Jackie's in California now?
Yeah, yeah. She